I was not recruited into librarianship. I discovered the profession in a roundabout way through working in corporate records management. It was actually a pretty bad experience, but it made me want to figure out a better way to handle the situation in the future. Oddly enough, I stumbled across an article in the newspaper that discussed the migration of professional librarians from traditional libraries into corporate settings and how valuable their skill sets were in the corporate environment. That's when I started doing research about librarians and archivists and what kind of training and education you needed to become one.
I was not actively recruited. I came into librarianship because my dad was an archivist at the National Archives, so it was kind of a natural progression. I read Arthur Schomburg's work, The Negro Digs Up His Past, and I was fascinated about the idea of being a culture keeper. And from there, I kind of developed an affinity for the profession. I also worked at the Library of Congress and at the Congressional Research Service in high school. So that had an effect. I also worked at the Library of Congress in college in the stacks. So I was always around libraries, so I decided that I needed a job, and librarianship is a good profession to be a part of.
Yes, I was recruited into librarianship. When I worked at Howard University, my supervisor used to always tell me what a great librarian I would be. And I ended up applying to Wayne State in 2005, and I got accepted.
I was sort of recruited into the profession by both the experience of working in a library and then by librarians and a dean of a library school. And so it wasn't sort of an active recruitment effort, but once people discovered that I was interested, I was encouraged to pursue a career in libraries.
I started working in libraries as an undergraduate student when I was at Columbia. And while working there, some of my now mentors actively encouraged me to go to library school. I didn't really consider that as a career option at the time, and by the time I became serious about becoming a librarian or attending library school, the library school at Columbia accepted their last class into that program, and so attending library school at Columbia was not an option for me. It was still something I thought about doing, although because I continued working in libraries and I continued to be pressured, sometimes gently, sometimes not so gently, by my mentors. And ultimately they won this battle, and I went to library school at Rutgers in 2001.
No. And I say that because there are a lot of opportunities. Actually, I was able to get my master's degree in library science through an IMLS scholarship. So there are actually a lot of scholarships that are designed to get more minorities in.
As far as barriers, I think that just like, being this profession is in this world. In this world, there are lots of prejudices. Different people have biases against various groups, and black men are one of those groups. But black men who can speak in complete sentences, black men who can engage with the profession, black men who can enjoy digging into the work of librarianship can succeed in the profession. I feel like with all the diversity programs that exist right now, there are lots of opportunities for black men in the profession. And there may be some barriers, but I'm not really focused on how those barriers might hold me back. I'm focused on overcoming whatever happens to be in my way.
I think that there is a barrier for African American males, not only to become librarians, but also to develop a successful career path. There are certain assumptions made, sometimes unconsciously and sometimes not, about our capabilities and our leadership potential and our ability to fit into a high-tech, heavily knowledge-based environment, and that's unfortunate. There were times that I felt I had to start over from square one, proving myself with every single individual colleague, regardless of my prior track record within the library or the recognition that I was receiving on a professional level. I can't be certain of other people's experiences, but I get the impression that the general assumption from both African American males themselves and the current library professionals is that the profession probably isn't a good fit for us for any number of reasons that are not specifically stated. I think that the only way to counter this is to increase our overall presence within the profession in all types of libraries, and also at the academic level, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
In terms of the profession and barriers, if you will, for African American males, I think there are barriers not just for African American males. There are barriers for many people from traditionally underrepresented groups, and I'm not sure how the barriers that are imposed by many organizations, whether intentionally or not, can be broken down. I think programs such as the Joint Conference of Librarians of Color or the National Diversity in Libraries Conference provides librarians in the field with opportunities to talk about ways in which we can break these barriers down.
As far as African American males being in the profession, I don't think that African American males are targeted to be a part of the profession. I think we need a lot of work on that. I think that it's a collective effort. Some of the efforts that the American Library Association is doing and some of the efforts that individuals have to do to show that this is a profession that African American males can be comfortable in. I think that a lot of the issues are institutional because this is a cultural profession, and if we really want African American males to feel comfortable in the profession, then those of us who are in the profession have to work harder to make them comfortable when they come in. It doesn't make sense to recruit people to get into a profession and they feel like this is not some place that they feel comfortable continuing to have a career in.
I do plan on staying in the profession. To be able to put my biology background and my library science background together, this was sort of the perfect job for me. And being here at Princeton, one thing that's great is I've had the opportunity to build a really great collection because Princeton has great resources, and I really get to do what I came into the profession to do, and I like that. And so I plan to stay in the profession.
I would like to, but there's some conditions on it. If I can serve in a more administrative capacity, I will. If not, I might move on and find another career choice.
I do plan on staying in librarianship as long as I'm offered opportunities to work within the field. However, it is a difficult profession to break into, and even after completing a 2-year residency, I'm still having a hard time landing interviews and finding the next professional step for me. I'm currently working on a PhD in library science, and unfortunately I think that a lot of personnel managers see me as being overqualified, even though I think my prior experience and current research interests would prove to be invaluable to a library that's looking for leading-edge professionals.
Good question. Will I stay in this profession? I don't know, and it all depends. I mean, a lot of questions always depend on what happens next. I plan on going back to school, and we'll see where that takes me.
Yes, I do plan on staying in the profession. I have had several positions in libraries, both at Columbia, where I had 7 positions in the time that I was there, 17 years, and now I have been at Princeton for 6 years. I absolutely love what I do. I enjoy the people that I work with, not just in my immediate environment, but also all the people with whom I have interactions through my committee work. I last year became a life member of the American Library Association, so I think that shows my level of commitment to the profession.